welcome to the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 9th of October of 2021. Welcome to everyone who's coming on Rumble and the podcast on YouTube. Remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. I hope you're having a good day today. We're going to talk on the subject of flipping the coin, and I have to be honest, I'm kind of going not off the cuff because I did take the time to prepare, but I do not recall initially why I came to the conclusion I needed to talk on the subject. I hope that I do justice to what I was thinking before. To be honest, I'm pretty happy with what I've got, so I think you'll probably like it. I'm going to go ahead and go through my notes to give you some idea of what I'm talking about at this point. And let's go ahead and do that. Except when we're talking about folks who are actively responsible for the deaths of others, not just people who've killed even a large number of folks in past, is there anybody for whom most folks would pray for their demise? The obvious answer is, and you're going to maybe think this isn't quite so obvious, yes. We know there are sick people out there who feel that that's a rational, proper thing to do. That said, the majority of humanity are not there from what I can see. They're just not. I know I'm not. So you can imagine when folks accuse people like me of wanting anybody to get some kind of illness and frankly even be horribly badly affected, much less die, how that grieves us. And again, I would imagine most individuals out there are likewise affected. Now let's flip the coin though. It grieves me almost as much when people are told they can't live. It's bad enough that there are folks in legitimate confinement for a cause. When you tell me an innocent, or even folks who aren't so innocent, to be honest, must hide away in their homes, generally cease to act as they please, like it or not, you're essentially telling that person you're not allowed to live. Am I saying there's no circumstances where that's reasonable? No, but I'm saying that such things should be well considered edicts of last resort. And I don't even really believe in edicts. I believe strong suggestions, quite frankly. Telling a child you're not allowed to go to school, eat at a restaurant, or play freely at a playground is rarely, if ever, a good and proper thing. And considering childhood is a rehearsal for, and I put that in quotes, adulthood, in some measure it's generally not reasonable to expect an adult to cease to live either. The point is, on the flip side of the people are going to die coin is the people need to live reality. Telling people for almost 2 years they can't do would be bad enough if it were done on reasonable arguments. The reality is, in the minds of many, myself obviously included, the current excuse is not reasonable. Of course, you're allowed to disagree, but short of explaining how we're wrong and doing it with considerations we haven't already heard and discounted, don't expect us who disagree to change our minds. This is where we are. We're in a society right now where people are, in my mind, basically being told, you're not allowed to live. It's not just not live freely. They're literally not allowed. People are being told in various countries, unless you're leaving your house for some specific reason, you're vaccinated, you've been tested, or whatever, you can't leave your house, and if you do, we're going to arrest you. Now, we're not there in the United States, and I acknowledge that. There are people being denied service at various places because they're unvaccinated. Yes, that's right. I equate those two. Granted, for black people, they can't help being black, and for unvaccinated people, they can technically be vaccinated if they choose to do so. But basically what you're asking people to do is work potentially against conscience in the doing of that thing. You're telling them, if you choose not to be vaccinated, we're going to treat you as not just an outcast, but as a person who has no business in society at all. And again, this is not happening everywhere. Here in my little part of the world, things are not that way. To be quite fair, not that way in my little part of the world. But the point that I'm making is really pretty simple. It is, people die. They do. And nobody likes that, and nobody wants that, and nobody expects that, and nobody thinks it's a good thing. I've heard a couple people recently talk about the fact that somebody has died, and it, as is almost always the case, it was very unfortunate, and I'm very sad to hear it. And my condolences to every one of those people, regardless the reason, whether it's COVID-19 or something totally different. I get it. And I promise you, I'm not sitting here going, ha, 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 that person died. Or anything else. I don't care if the person, Bongino recently said that, what's her name, Rachel Maddow had skin cancer. And I echo his sentiments on that. I hope everything ends up being good for her. I hope that she does not end up in any kind of serious peril as a result. I hope they took care of everything that needed taken care of, and I hope that she's healthy and well, regardless whether or not I agree with her. It's not about me agreeing with her, and I'm not going to shut her out of society. Oh no, maybe her skin cancer is contagious. Well, of course, that's even more ridiculous than saying COVID-19 is as contagious as people like to hold that it is, or that it's as bad for people as people like to hold that it is. Of course, that's really ridiculous, and of course, I would never say that about what she's going through, right? That's silliness. But again, my hope for her is health and well-being. I may not agree with her. I may feel like she should probably maybe not be as vocal as she is much of the time. But you know what? Even that's her right. And even that I'm not going to try and stop her from doing. The fact is, when Rachel Maddow and other people speak their minds and do what they do and live above the crowd, that is to say, don't wear masks when people claim that they ought to be doing so, go where they want to go, do what they want to do, and ignore whatever mandates might exist and are totally unaffected by doing so, it's still my mind that we shouldn't be punishing those people for that. We shouldn't even be punishing them for bad ideas. We shouldn't even necessarily be punishing them for being evil people unless they're doing evil things that are criminal and are therefore worthy of punishment. Okay? And this is what I'm trying to get at. Flipping the coin on the idea that people die is the idea that people must be allowed to live. Do you want to talk about a really sad situation? Imagine a person who died never having lived. Imagine a person having died and they never really lived. Wouldn't that be a sad thing? It would be to me. It's sad enough that my life is as curtailed at the moment as it is. And it's not horribly so for me. Because, as I say, where I am, we're not playing that game to the same degree. Yes, we did do the mask mandates. Even though they're still technically doing them now, I hate to say this, but for the most part, I'm not. I don't believe in them. I don't agree with them. Yes, I wear one in certain instances. And yes, in those instances, it's sort of a requirement that I do so. Yes, my son wears one in certain instances. And yes, in those instances, it's more or less a requirement that he do so. But I hate to tell you this, we're going to go to virtual learning if it's decided that my son needs to wear get a vaccine in order to go to school. It's just not going to happen. I'm not willing to inject that stuff in myself, and I'm not willing to inject it in him. So if you have to treat me as a second-class citizen because I refuse your answers that I do not believe to be scientifically valid or sound, you need to know that's going to happen. If you have to fire me from my workplace because I'm not going to get the vaccine, if you have to keep my son out of school because I'm not going to get the vaccine, if I have to work from home every day because I'm not going to get the vaccine or have it foisted on my son, so be it. We're not doing that. That's not acceptable. People must be allowed to live. And just as sad as it is that people die, when people live lives that aren't really lives, they're a shell or a shadow of a life, that to me is almost as bad as death. And in certain ways, I suppose you could even argue that it's worse. And this is what I'm trying to get across today on this idea of flipping the coin. Flipping the coin from people dying, which is a very unfortunate thing and something that I don't think anybody wants to see or hear. Okay? Flipping that coin, if you make it so that people can't live, I promise you're not doing something beneficial. I don't care what you think you're doing. I don't care that you think you're protecting me, and I don't care that you think you're protecting others. First of all, the science doesn't bear that out. You're not following the science if you believe that, and you need only to look at various studies and various countries and various other things to see that that's true. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm running a tiny bit long today. This is a daily summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Saturday, the 9th of October, 2021. Tomorrow then will be Sunday, the 10th of October. For those of you that are observing the Sabbath today, I hope your Sabbath is a good one. For those who are not, I hope you're having a good day. For those working on the weekend, I thank you again profusely for the fact that you're there, and I promise that there are those of us who definitely appreciate the fact that you are there. Thank you for being there. Truly from the bottom of my heart. Again, you've been watching me either on Rumble, on the podcast, or on YouTube in all likelihood. Thank you for doing so. And remember, Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a plus sign on Rumble as a positive feedback. You can give me a negative feedback, which would be the minus sign on Rumble. You can give me a thumbs up or a like on YouTube, or a thumbs down or a dislike for positive and negative feedback, respectively. The subject for today has been flipping the coin, and tomorrow we're going to talk about an interesting one. This one is in my behalf, and I remember why I started talking about that. I've talked about it any number of times, and I think people are going to find it interesting, though there are some people who are probably going to disagree with me. Hope you're having a good day today. Hope everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Sunday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Saturday, the 9th of October of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.